I think one of the most important things that the Critical Friend and CAMEL process has enabled is for each project, each institution, rather than perhaps regarding the project as sort of something focused on pedagogy or technology, but to look at it in a much wider aspect to do with change management, the importance of stakeholder engagement, the importance of looking at sort of some of the political issues, how they can actually change people. And I think that raising sort of awareness of all those types of issues, rather than just seeing it in terms of updates to curriculum delivery techniques or using technology, has been very, very important. And the projects have really taken all that on board.
One advantage has been for projects which are relatively new to Jisc, in that they're no longer working as separate and individual projects, and they can bounce ideas back off the other projects in the cluster. And I think that whole atmosphere of exchanging views, exchanging issues, getting mutual help has been beneficial for all the projects.
I think having a dedicated expert that has a knowledge of learning and teaching and e-learning in particular helps to give the projects a context that's probably broader than the institutional context for learning and teaching for their projects.
But I actually think being external to the institution, whilst being acquainted with the project, is itself an interesting situation to be in. It allows you to examine the whole context with a different lens, a different perspective, and I think that's been valuable to the individual institutions and to the cluster as a whole.
I think one of the things that the CAMEL has done is enable projects to discuss things openly with each other. So it's not just a case of one external person commenting to a project, it's projects collaborating and in some cases coming up with joint solutions.
I think the opportunity to kind of form a community of practice has been absolutely essential. It's enabled exchange, but most importantly I think it's enabled peer support, peer review and a benchmark for each project to compare themselves against and provide each other with feedback for. And we've seen this in particular around certain activities, around things like the evaluation of programmes, around things like how to get academics engaged in the process, technical issues, writing reports, and how best to package the deliverables that are coming out of each project.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the relationship between the CAMEL cluster and the model and the Critical Friend is really quite important. I'm not saying institutions couldn't operate a CAMEL model without a Critical Friend, but I think actually having one who is external to the projects provides a possibility of facilitation which is neutral in some ways, but at the same time is there for the project. So I think having the Critical Friend in that context is really important. And I suppose thinking back to discussions we had this morning, probably what's been fundamental about the CAMEL process is that the institutions engaging in it are in a kind of a training ground. It's a sort of a nursery for beginning to think differently about their relationship to the sector. And they start doing that by thinking about their relationship to other institutions engaged in similar projects, trying to transform practice. But that helps them when they get into the larger community of the programme to contribute their learning and their understanding and bring their problems as well. And I think the more that we can get institutions to see themselves beyond what they do as institutions, actually the healthier that will be for the higher education sector.
I think too the CAMEL meetings enable projects to develop their knowledge and understanding, they don't all start projects with the same knowledge and understanding. There's different kinds of knowledge and understanding, not just about learning and teaching and technology enhanced learning, but things like project management, things like effective project evaluation, things like evidencing impact. People have different skills and different expertise in that, and certainly having a mixed bag in our cluster enabled that kind of exchange to happen well, and I think that again has helped the outcome from the projects too.